What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another Bring the Juice Colts podcast live stream. Guys, we're breaking down some NFL action here, week 6 between the Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans. I am joined by my good friend, Mr. Titan Upload himself. How are you doing today, my friend?
Good, buddy. Good to be here and talk Titans and Colts. It's always fun.
Did Rossi tell you about the bet that he and I have going on for this week?
He did, but he didn't really elaborate on it too much. So what are we doing here?
It's just whoever's team loses has to get rid of the beards.
Okay, and we're doing it live,
yeah, I mean mine's
live?
a little bit more noticeable than his, so obviously if you guys win and I lose, then obviously I'm gonna have an insane baby face going on for about a week. But but nevertheless, it's crazy.
What you guys should have done though is you should have the loser shouldn't have had an opportunity to shave until the December game, December 23rd.
Oh man,
and then you've been wearing your hockey beards.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, again, guys, this stream is powered by BetUS. If you're looking for a sports book this season, look no further than BetUS. I want to say thank you to everyone that is tuning in on X and YouTube right now. Please, guys, make sure to like the stream. It helps it get out to more people. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We're on the push to 20,000 subscribers, but we need your help. And be sure to comment if you guys want to as well. Man, so this has been a season of, I think both of us can sit here and agree that we probably had higher expectations for both of these teams through the first couple weeks of the season than what we have seen from both of our teams so far. As far as, you know, the Titans being where they're at right now, what are they, 1-3 now? So,
yep.
Sitting at 1-3, knowing that you guys have, you know, been in a situation where you guys have had a chance to win multiple games, but it just didn't work out. How have you felt about the Titans this year and the direction that they're headed?
Well, it's interesting. I think, and I kid, but I'm really interested to see this poll result that I want you to run so badly, to see which quarterback Colt fans actually want to see. And I brought that up on my last show, and the audience replied, "Well, who cares? It's the Colts." But it's real. You know what I mean? We are going to be the last ones to jump ship because we're the Titans and Will Levis, whatever. But from people from the outside, I mean, this guy's ridiculously terrible. 39.9 passer grade on Pro Football Focus. And it's like, oh my gosh, we could be 3-1. I know everybody says that, but this is actually kind of true. The defense ranks 1 against the pass and 1 overall. And the only game we really lost, I can say, like, got blown out with, it was the Packer game. Otherwise, we're in the game late and it's just dumb turnovers. So am I excited about the direction? A little bit, but I'm not excited about the quarterback. So it really puts me in a standstill.
Yeah, I mean, it has definitely been a crazy one for sure. I did put the poll up there just now for everyone that is tuning in. So make sure you guys participate in that little poll right there, asking which quarterback you would want to face on Sunday. I mean, again, like we saw from last week, Mason Rudolph, you know, I think Rudolph has a lower ceiling, but I think he has a much more higher and steady floor than Levis. Levis is make or break. I mean, he is big boom or bust, so he's either going to just go through the roof or he's going to get buried underneath the floor, you know? So it is definitely an interesting take on it for sure. Before we go too far into it, yeah, dude, I'm telling you, the Indianapolis Colts right now are in a bad way. right now. I mean, it is very, very bad for the Indianapolis Colts. I'll show you. I want to show you the. I'm going to show you the injury report right now for the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, it is bad. So Ryan Kelly might come back this week, which is huge. I'm pretty positive Anthony Richardson's going to return. Kwity Paye might be returning, and Kenny Moore might be returning back to the defense, which is all good. But Jonathan Taylor most likely will not play. Even if Braden Smith plays, he's not going to be 100%. Trey Sermon, our backup running back, now all of a sudden has a collarbone. So we may not be without our running back number 1 or 2. Michael Pittman might be heading to the short-term IR with a back injury. They did say he will be sidelined for multiple weeks. And they said IR might be a possibility. And Josh Downs is also on the injury report. So the Colts could be in this game missing their number 1 and number 2 running back and their number 1 and number 2 wide receiver in this matchup. Not to mention, I didn't include the fact that DeForest Buckner is still out for this game because I think this is the last week that he is going to be placed on IR. And we're still missing one of our defensive end pieces from him being placed on the short-term IR. So, I mean, this Colts team, man, is absolutely riddled with injuries. I mean, what goes through your mind when you're hearing all of that?
Well, I mean, shout out again to Bet US, but like last week, Bet US, we're going with the Colts, baby, over the Jaguars. And then once I made that, I'm like, oh, then I found out like 15 of your guys were out. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, so I was so basically, yeah. So that was kind of whatever, but you almost came back and won. So I don't know. Is that you guys are, backups guys or got some depth and
so many backups, dude. I mean, It's not even. The sad part is like this practice report is not our backups. It's all starters. It's all starters and guys that play a ginormous role in the game. So, I mean, it is truly astonishing. I mean, again, your number 1 and number 2 running back, your number 1 and number 2 wide receiver, and you might miss one of your offensive linemen, and you could still potentially miss another defensive player on top of the 3 or 4 other defensive linemen that have either had season-ending injuries or are on the short-term IR. So, I mean, it's not all these backups that happen to these other teams. It's all the starters. It's every single position. It's every starter. It's unbelievable.
And you're still favored.
Actually, no, which
anymore?
Is crazy. This is actually a great segment, by the way, or segue here, because we can bring up BetUS here, guys, because BetUS actually has updated their rating. So actually, what was it? Last night when we were doing the BetUS episode, the Colts were actually favored by 1 point. Now the Tennessee Titans are a 2.5 point favorite over the Colts. So in the span of 24 hours, the Titans have been favored in now a 3.5 point swing. I'm going to put those up on the screen for you guys. So yeah, I mean, the Tennessee Titans now are the favorite in this matchup. So, they're seeing the Michael Pittman news. They're seeing all the injuries the Colts are dealing with. And, with the return of Anthony Richardson, I think a few people are saying, oh, they might not have that opportunity to really do as much with Joe Flacco going back to the bench this week. I actually will pick the Colts here to actually win this game because, I have to stick with it or else this is going. So I want to keep this. But anyways, I do want to ask you, Upload, over under on the 43.
Oof.
I will say this, as much as the Colts are going to struggle offensively because we're clearly lacking power there, The Colts seem to always win on the over. I don't know I don't know how many times we have hit the over, but I guarantee you we've hit the over more than we've hit the under, especially last week. I think the over under last week was like 38 and we scored 71. So
Yeah, it was crazy. I think it all depends on Levis. If Levis plays, I think you take the under. If Levis doesn't play, you take the over. I mean, maybe that's why the Titans turned around, because they got some news that maybe Rudolph will be playing.
I don't know. I just like, for me, I think that, it definitely could be a defensive game. If you do see Will Levis and Anthony Richardson play together, I think they both are. I mean, I'll ask you about Levis here in a minute, but I have a sneaking suspicion that both these teams are going to combine for something much bigger. So I'm going to go with the over on this. So we'll go with a 20 burger there, guys. Can win $52 if you go over there and hit the Colts with the +2.5 and the over on the 43. So head on over to BetUS, guys. Get that bet in today. And of course, guys, as well, we can't forget this. They have a new promotion going on for this. If you guys sign up today, you get a 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit, and then 125% on your next 2 deposits. All you have to do is use the promo code YouTube150. Get signed up today, guys. But of course, always be responsible. Now, I will say, yeah, so talk to me about Will Levis, because from what it sounds like is he has Callahan has the same mentality as Steichen, where if they're healthy, he's going to play. And from what it sounded like is there was good news on that injury front. Does it sound like he's turning into the direction of playing this Sunday?
The problem is, like, you can't buy into that stuff, Derek. Come on. Like, we don't know what Callahan's really thinking. Like, Callahan, when he took the jobs, like, yeah, I'm going to work with this guy. But the rumor that just came out, Rossini on The Athletic, is they're really close to being done with him. Now, I don't know how true it is, but usually Rossini was pretty close with Vrabel, but Vrabel's gone now. But somebody leaked something out there, which makes sense. So let's go to Monday night. So he gets hurt, right? And I'll get into that later. But he hurts his shoulder. He still wears the helmet. He's still allowed to throw the ball on the sideline. Dude, he was ready to go. He was begging to get in the game. I don't know about you, but like, common sense says if you're really concerned about his injury, like Callahan said, you're not letting him throw the ball and warm up and run around on the sideline. Like, you're going to take those extra precautions. They didn't do it. So here's what I'm thinking. It's just my thought. It's my take. I know my team, Derek. Here's what I'm thinking. This is Callahan's one opportunity to just let him continue to rest, right? And go with Rudolph, because the team actually, I know it wasn't great in the beginning, but when Will Levis was out there at the end of the first quarter, it was 0-0. We end up putting up 31 points against the Dolphins. Were awful. I'm not even going to lie.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, like, Levis plays that game, I think it could be different, right? They ran the ball a lot. There were 2 big drops. Hopkins dropped one. Ridley dropped one. So that would have kind of changed the tide. He would have been over 100 yards on Rudolph, but he doesn't make the mistake like Levis. And when your defense is playing pretty well, you can't make the big mistakes. So I think everybody bought in. So don't be surprised if actually Rudolph plays this week, because honestly, it makes sense. You got the injury. Callahan can always use that. I don't know if you're really ready, and that won't kill his confidence. So I'm not buying what they're trying to sell me, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt that Rudolph just brings a more steady presence to the offense. It may not be as explosive. It may not be as spontaneous as with Levis. But like you said, there's a certain aspect of what you're going to get, and there's less bad plays that he forces, which I think has been one of the big reasons why the Titans have had struggles this year. But yeah, I would like to think that Levis and Anthony Richardson will be playing each other this week. Anthony Richardson did say that he feels much better this week said he's still day-to-day, but, he was 50-50 on playing last week. I have a feeling he will play this week, and I'd like to think that Will Levis will be in there as well, but we'll see how that goes. But thank you guys again, everyone that is watching. Be sure to like the stream wherever you're watching. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to comment. Thank you guys so very much. So for the run game, I don't know. Obviously, you guys have had your struggles with running the football this year. Feels like it's gotten slightly better over the last few days or few weeks, I should say. How do you guys feel about your rushing attack and how that's been going so far?
I mean, it's like he stuck with the run game last week, which eventually worked out. Spears had some pretty nice moves. Pollard had a big run. He also had a big run that got called back. But for the most part, they've been held in check. I think that could be a little bit of because Levis has been so awful. I don't know if teams really fear him. Like even deep down the field, he's missing. And I know like there's a bit, you know how it goes. Like there's a big section, I think, that is adoring Levis because they think he's going to be the future. But then everybody else, it's the line's fault, which the line is awful. It's Ridley's fault. It's all these other people's fault. It's never Levis's fault. He only makes one bad play a game, but that's not true. But I think when Rudolph played, you got to see a little bit more patience with the run game. And like I said, as long as they don't do something dumb, they love to do like they're moving the ball, and then they'll do a reverse. And then Burks loses like 8 yards. And it's like, what are we doing? Right? The line's not that good to be able to slow develop plays behind the line of scrimmage. But overall, Pollard and Spears, I think they're a decent combo. Henry brought a whole nother element, and you get to see exactly what Derek's been able to do this year with a pretty steady offensive line. So again, I think it's going to take time to gel. Latham's been playing well at that left side of the ball. The right side, that's another question. The right side's really been struggling. Radens has been okay, but the right tackle is definitely a question mark. And it's hard to be good on offense when your right tackle's struggling so much.
Yeah, I know how it is. I mean, we have our right guard, Will Fries, went out with a season-ending injury last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, it was bad, and he had to stay in Jacksonville to get a surgery. And it stinks because he was, in some ways, was our best offensive lineman so far this year. So losing him definitely is going to be a huge loss. But I feel confident we have some good depth behind him. Let's stick on your rushing attack here for a minute because I will get to your defense at another point and you can know about ours. But I mean, again, this is a Colts team that through the first 5 weeks of the season is 31st in yards allowed per game in on the run. Through the first 2 weeks of the season, we had given up 475 yards through the first 2 weeks of the season against the Texans and the Packers. Now, obviously, through the last few weeks, it got a little bit better against the Bears and the Steelers. But then again, the Bears and the Steelers don't run the football very well. And then this last week, it was going very well for the Indianapolis Colts in that game, but then they started giving up the chunk runs and Bigsby started doing whatever he wanted and we proceeded to end up giving up another 150 yards rushing. Hearing that, and obviously I told you about all the injuries that the Colts defense has already sustained, along with this team just not playing very well on defense this year. Does that make you feel any better about being able to establish some kind of consistent rushing attack with Pollard and Spears? I mean, we know how Derrick Henry used to do it. I mean, if this was Derrick Henry behind this line, I don't care what happens. I would predict he'd be running for 250 on Sunday. But there's a little bit different story with Pollard and Spears. What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely presents a lot of optimism for this week. Hopefully Callahan's taking notes, and I think he will attack that part. But at the end of the day, like special teams, like there's so many different elements that have been hurting the Titans. That week one against the Bears, they were able to do some things, and then all of a sudden, bam, the dam breaks, and then it gets real terrible. And they're blocking punts, returning for a touchdown, and Levis happens. So I think again with Callahan, it's just being consistent, playing smart, and all three phases just don't do anything dumb. And with the injuries, I mean that's there's no reason why we shouldn't win. The question is, well, will we win? And I don't know. We struggled at times against Miami last week, and Miami was bad. They're really bad, especially without Tua. But they held some guys in check, defensively, but offensively, they got to just keep being patient. And you guys have played the 5 games in a row. We've got the bye, so hopefully Callahan will be able to use that as his advantage, and playing at home, kind of a nice little wrinkle for Tennessee this week.
Yep. All right, let's move over to the receiving aspect here for the Indianapolis Colts. As I told you, Michael Pittman, he's gone. And it's kind of funny too, because with Anthony Richardson coming back, Anthony Richardson has never really had it for Michael Pittman. It's never really been about getting Michael Pittman the ball. It's mainly been about getting Alec Pierce the ball. And we saw last week, Alec Pierce, 3 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown. Most of that coming in the fourth quarter on his last 2 drives. And we've seen he's had a couple of decent games against the Tennessee Titans. We remember the last time that we faced you guys in Nashville. He had a very similar game against you guys before. Certainly hoping that Josh Downs will be able to go this week. We just got him back a few weeks ago from an ankle injury before. And Anthony Richardson never really got the chance to actually work with him. And now he might not get the chance to do it again. But as far as like any of these wide receivers or receiving threats for the Colts, does Alec Pierce concern you with Anthony Richardson coming back in? Does anyone concern you when it comes to this receiving core?
It would have last year. But the one thing I know Uzier's out, but they're getting some pretty good. Brownlee's playing very well. McCreary's fine. He's doing good. And then obviously bringing over the stud from Kansas City and Snead. That's good. I'm not worried about that. Landry's been okay getting after the quarterback. I remember what happened last time we played you in your stadium with Landry and Richardson. But again, I think the Colts, they'll find a way to try to get some points. And again, that goes back to my whole philosophy. As long as the Titans don't do dumb things, they should be within this game. And again, injury, not injury. I mean, it's a divisional game. I would argue this is going to be a very tough game for both of us. I think we're physically going to go after each other, and ultimately, I like the receivers don't scare me as much, but Richardson moving around definitely is going. I mean, we've not. Let's talk about that. That has hurt us at times. The mobile quarterback. Heck, Malik Willis was able to tear us up at times. So Richardson, if he can get out of the pocket, and that I told you personally, like the wow play that he made from the 30 all the way to the goal line, that was like, oh my gosh. Like, that's the thing people miss. Like Levis, he had a couple great plays last year, but he hasn't had that moment this year. He hasn't had the wow play. So when it comes to Richardson, he would kind of take more stock in him. And here's the other thing, Derek. For whatever reason, the Titans, I'm not really going to get on their defense too much because they've been their strong suit, but they don't understand the spy. They've not really spied a lot of quarterbacks. They've let them kind of run around and do their thing. So that part would concern me, probably more than just the receivers in general. But again, I think as far as through the pass, unless they allow Richardson to run around back there, I think that will be one of our strong points going into this game.
All right. And one last thing here for your guys' defense. I mean, you talked about our offensive line. Colts offensive line's been really good this year, both in running the football and protecting the quarterback. How do you feel about your team's ability to get pressure on whichever quarterback we have back there against this Colts front?
Well, Simmons didn't play last week. And Simmons is kind of like, he gets paid a lot of money. He does get double teamed all the time. Heck, the Bears triple teamed him at one point on the watch party I was pointing out. It was like, oh my gosh. But Sweat has been he's been really good. And I know it's been literally 4 games or whatever, but he played without Simmons against Miami, and he took over that football game for a big part of it. I mean, he made it rough on Miami. But again, if there's one weakness within the Titans that has concerned me all year, Murray, a free agent we brought over from the Chargers, he's not really good against the pass. He's not really good against the run. The only thing he's good at is blitzing. He's been okay. But Ernest Jones from the Rams, he's more of our run stuffer. He'll help us out. I don't think Cedric Gray is going to be back for this game, but he might come off IR, which is exciting. Sorry to point that out. But for the most part, I think defensively, the run, if you guys stay consistent with the run and then Richardson runs a little bit, that would be the one I would kind of be like, oh my gosh, I hope that we're able to contain the run. And that might be one of our Achilles heels that we're going to have to hopefully doesn't bust and you guys just start running it all over. Because then Richardson, I mean, everything kind of falls within him. Then he might be able to beat you, with that big play down the field and expose the secondary.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this Colts offense does. This whole team in general. But yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. Let's go over to the offense here for you guys. Let's talk about this. So, I've never been shy at talking about how much I hate Will Levis and how trash he's been. And I love to say I told some of y'all so, but it is what it is. But this Colts defense has me nervous about what Will Levis can do on Sunday, regardless of who it is, to be completely honest with you. If it is Will Levis, and I'm just going to presume that it is, the last 3 games you played for the Colts, you've played Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, and Trevor Lawrence. For all 3 guys, when they have played the Indianapolis Colts, a third of their passing yards for the season at this moment in time has come off the back of throwing against the Indianapolis Colts. So we have been bad. We're the 26th ranked defense in stopping the pass. I'm honestly surprised that it's that high. I think we might even be lower after seeing what Lawrence did to us. But I think that we have seen this team with this defensive scheme give up a lot of great plays to really below average quarterbacks, which is why you see a lot of people in the chat, they'll say the same thing. Like, how many yards is Will Levis going to throw for on Sunday? Because in total honesty, I mean, the last time he played us, I mean, it wasn't a world-beating performance, but he wasn't bad against Indianapolis. And that defense is way healthier than the one we have right now. And it was a better coached unit at that time, or maybe guys weren't giving up on the season like maybe they are right now, because I'm concerned Will Levis is going to go for like 300 something yards on this Colts defense on Sunday, because that has been the trend for the Indianapolis Colts. The only quarterback that the first 2 weeks, Stroud gave up 240, Stroud got 240 yards, but the the offense ran for like 150 yards that day, so he didn't have to throw as many times. Obviously, Malik Willis didn't have to throw the ball 35 times because Green Bay ran for 267 yards against us. The next 3 games, when the Colts kind of figured out the run game a little bit, they've given up 300. They have given up 340 yards or more on every single quarterback over the last 3 weeks. Do you think Will Levis could be the 4th one in a row for that?
Well, I mean, I guess if you wanted to really stick it to the Titans, you let him throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, and then everyone be like, "See, I told you he's the guy." And then they ride with him the rest of the year, and it's the Colt game that gets him that contract. But deep down, I mean, Levis is going to throw you at least 1 cookie, so he's going to give you that, and you'll probably have an opportunity to run it for a pick 6. But like I said, there's too many good things, but I've been a fan of the Titans for way too long. And you can talk about this too. Like, the NFL is crazy. Like, you think you got it all figured out, and hey, this team's down. This team doesn't have anybody. Heck, the Chiefs are 5-0, Derek. And Patrick Mahomes is not the reason really they're 5-0. He's okay this year. I suspect he'll be a lot better as the year goes on, but right now he's not like, tearing it up. So I think when it comes to Will Levis, Hopkins is going to be healthier. That's a plus. Ridley's been really good this year. The problem is Levis overthrows him all the time or misses him. So that's an issue. But, Treylon Burks, he just had a baby. Shout out to him. But he's been a non-factor. He's got 3 catches for 12 plus 13. So 25 yards. Tight end's been an understudy. They haven't used the tight end. When they do, they move the ball. When they don't, they don't. So Wiley and Okonkwo have underachieved because of that fact alone. But ultimately, if you got to throw the ball, as my light went out here, if you're going to throw the ball, you need an offensive line. Okay. So if there's one thing, if you're the Colts, mate, and you guys don't, maybe things are different this year, but it seems like every year I break you down. It's like you do the bend, but don't break. You don't really start coming after the quarterback until we get the ball like within the red zone or around there. But if you guys come after the quarterback and put pressure on him, I think the Titans struggle with that, especially if you come off the right edge, or with left edge or whatever against the right tackle. And even Skoronski, the left guard's been playing pretty poor. So you guys could come up the middle. That is probably the concern for me. If you guys can put some pressure with your pass rush, because that will totally just eliminate anything down the field. And Levis is one of those guys too, where I got excited for him in preseason because he started checking it down more. And I'm like, yes, he's starting to learn. But I just there's too many dumb plays, Derek, and I just don't have confidence in him.
So you don't have confidence in your quarterback, and I have absolutely no confidence in this defense to do anything. God, it sounds like I don't remember what it said. Somebody, I think one of my friends who's also a Colts content creator said it's like the stoppable force meets the very movable object. It's like, which one of these is going to give sort of situation? I mean, it's the complete opposite of what you would hope. Again, I won't spend too much time on it. This Colts defense is abysmal, and the injuries have certainly not been in our favor. I don't know. It seems crazy because I do think that Levis will have a really good day against us, despite the fact of what we know about him this year. I hope he doesn't, but that every time I look to try and find a way around it, I'm not going to sit here and say that I have any confidence in this Colts team going into this game. I really don't. Let's talk special teams real quick, and then we'll go into a final score prediction. Okay, so special teams units. The Colts and the Titans know a thing or two about this, especially why it's important in matchups between us, because a lot of times games between us comes down to the special teams. It's usually either us blocking one of your punts or you
Or
guys
two of
missing
them.
a field goal. It usually comes down to a few of those.
Well, we
So,
blocked a field
how's
goal and
the
returned it too, buddy. Don't forget
we
about
did
that one.
we did it twice last year, which is great. Don't know if we'll do it this year. All right, what's the special teams looking like? How's the kicker? How are the units, et cetera, et cetera?
Special teams coach, we're already getting he needs to be fired, Cole Anderson. So we got that going for us. We looked really good in preseason. That new kickoff rule, I thought we did a phenomenal job covering that in preseason. And then we gave up a pretty big run against Chicago. But our obviously our biggest issue is getting punts blocked. Jaquan Jackson's our returner. He's getting better. First couple games, he just wanted to run from sideline to sideline. He went good up the field, but he's been starting to learn about that a little bit more, which is great. But ultimately, I think as long as they can keep working on not getting punts blocked, I think we're okay. Folk's been really good, like really, really good. He was good last week. He hit, I forget, I think he hit maybe a 50-some yarder. I mean, and then maybe a couple, but he was like automatic. Rossi always says automatic, when he gets ready to kick it. So that's some definitely positive in the right direction, but it always comes back to those stupid punts being blocked, whether it's against you guys or Chicago or whatever. That's kind of been that knife in us on special teams. How you guys been doing on special teams?
Well, our kicker, who you're paying $6 or $7 million a year to, we get nervous anytime he ever goes out to kick, even if it's a 30-yarder. We think that he might miss it. So it gives you any indication of how we feel about him. As far as the rest of it, it's been solid. It's not like there's been anything to report. It did suck because last week against Jacksonville, we gave up a big return to whoever the return man was, caught it at like the 30, brought it all the way down to their 20. And it put them in position to score on the very next play. So, it is going to be interesting to see how we do special teams wise for this, but it'll be interesting, man. Looking at the poll real quick before we get into this. So we asked Colts fans, who do you want to face on Sunday? And with 55 votes, right now it is Levis sitting at 82%. So overwhelming favorite. The Colts fans are wanting to see Will Levis at quarterback for the Titans on Sunday. I mean, can you blame us? I mean, he's had a couple boneheaded mistakes, and we're really hoping he has one or two of those on Sunday that helps us win the game.
Yeah, again, even in Carson Wentz season with you guys, which was awful, right? His stats like double Levis right now. So again, 39.9 passer grade, and he's throwing a pick 6.1% of the time on every throw. So there's definitely some concerns with Levis. And I'll bring this up to you real quick and be done with talking about Levis. I think fans don't realize this all the time either. And I try and I'm not perfect either. I make mistakes. But sometimes you got to feel like with young guys, if they're going out there and they're not improving on certain things that they just, for whatever reason, keep doing, sometimes you letting them just play it out has more of a mental thing. It starts to get on their confidence. Then they start to actually underperform more and more and more. I mean, if you go back real quick, just a little snippet, you see what I'm talking about. It's the very end of the game versus the Jets where we're marching down to score. And once he gets in the red zone, Derek, he just like clams up. He won't throw it. You could tell like he didn't want to make the dumb decision. He actually throws it to a guy out of bounds, and it looks like he's relieved. And ultimately, they were not able to get it. I think he threw it short to Boyd, and he gets tackled at like the 2-yard line. That's how the game ends because he was afraid to take the chance, the opportunity there. So with all that being said, I think that ultimately backs up my point. 82% of you guys want to see him, and there's a reason for that. And right now, I think 59 to 60% of Titan fans are still all in on this guy. And but I think it's gonna start to trickle the other way, the more and more mistakes that he makes. But hopefully they just go with Rudolph and we don't have to worry about that. And Rudolph is the one putting up 300 yards. Could you imagine, though? Could you imagine Rudolph 3 touch or does what Lawrence did, or heck, what your backup did last week against Jacksonville? I mean, that would be
anything's possible on this team, dude. Anything is possible on this freaking team, man. Anything. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on here and chatting with me, man. Let's do a score prediction. Who do you got? What's your score?
Well, if Rudolph plays, I think the Titans win. I think they win. I'll go by 10 points. I think they're going to ride it out a little bit. I think it's going to be close, though. And here's one of the things real quick, too. I wouldn't be shocked at this. We kind of go up early. We're all feeling good about ourselves, just like it happened last week with you guys. And then you start to creep up and start to come back. We don't usually play really well in the second half. Last week against Miami is like the first time. Usually we're always under 17 points. Last week was the first week we've ever scored 30 in a long, long time. But honestly, even if Levis plays, maybe even a homer or whatever, but being at home after the bye, let's just put it this way. If the Titans don't win, the season's over. And we're already in week 6, right? If they don't win, they'll be 1-4. That would be their first divisional loss. Okay, but it's still tough. It's a tough thing, but I'll go with the Titans by 10 if Rudolph plays. I'll go by 3 if Levis plays, even though I don't really believe it with Levis right now. Not fully.
I will go. I'll tell you what. I so hope the Colts win. I really do. But I will pick them to win here. I think it will be a little bit of a shootout. I could see it being a final score of, say, 31-28 Colts. I think both these teams can score a lot of points, for a couple different reasons. But yeah, I think it'll be a high one. But again, guys, shout out to BetUS for powering today's stream. Again, if you guys want to check out BetUS to get a new sports book this season, look no further than them. Be sure to check out that offer as well. And I want to thank Mr. Titan Upload himself for coming on here, spending a little time with us, talking about the Titans. Man, I wish that our teams were a little bit better and there was a little bit more hype going into the matchup. But nevertheless, man, there is a lot at stake for both of these teams that are trying to stick into the race a little bit. So I appreciate you coming on here and chatting with me, man.
No, it's always fun, man. Thanks for the invite. And after this week, go Colts. This week, obviously, go Titans. So tighten up, everybody.
Well, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Let us know your thoughts, your scores, and other things in the comments below. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always,